So if you join me in welcoming Mohammad Faiz, who's presenting on the network of the future, developing future value and how to get there. Mohammad, welcome to the stage. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. My name is Faiz. I lead solution engineering for the OSS business in this region. It's my privilege and honor to be in this forum. I'm based in Singapore. I've been in the OSS business for 25 years. Seen the journey, late 90s, when the focus was on assurance, and then moving on to building the inventory in the 2000s, and then the journey towards fulfillment automation and orchestration that we see now. I heard the panelists before, and I'm very happy that the conversation will seem like it continues, right? Because there are challenges in the industry that we see now. There are many, I've gone through some hype curves myself, and there are some very important lessons. So in today's session, about the network of the future and how to get there, I'll talk about a few pillars that we envision. Okay, so network and customer demands are changing. That's a fact of life. So what really do we see here? The first thing that we see is that the telcos in the past few years have focused on digital transformation. They want to offer a Netflix-like experience. But there is, if you want to offer a Netflix-like experience in the telco world, right? And I heard the use cases in the panel before. You need to connect the business to the network. That's an important aspect. We've also seen how the 5G has rolled out, right? A few years ago, we spoke about use cases like robotic surgery, high-end use cases. We're not there yet. Parts of those use cases that we envision are live today. Our panelists before said, yes, there is ports, there are many use cases, the platforms are there, but the operations at scale that we need is still work in progress. And what really is the key pillar there, right? What really needs to happen? A lot of it has to do with network evolution, network exposure, network APIs, right? Telcos want to also aspire to be like AWS, define the marketplace, right? A lot of APIs, but it took AWS a long time to get there. And telcos are in the same journey. Now, we in Amdocs are quite focused in assisting, and we're honored to be partnering with many of our customers in this journey. We're making several improvements along the way as we've learned to our solutions and products. And my colleague, Merdad, he referred to some of them in the previous session. Let's talk about what are the new revenue opportunities, right? And as you heard in the previous forums, there are many use cases out there. And these are the very basic ones, and you being the very august forum in this room, right, would associate with this. Of course, there is transformation of services. Services are moving from traditional telephony, fixed into the cloud. There is edge, and there is, of course, wherever the business case permits it. There is IoT, and vertical solutions. We heard a lot about vertical solutions. And so all of this is bringing new money to the telco, right? And that's what's happening. In addition to that, we have people who've been in the industry for a while know about prepaid, postpaid, the dominant models in the market. Those are evolving to the SaaS and NAS, PaaS, and SaaS models, right? That's the evolution. And then the next one is the go-to-market. And again, we heard this in the previous sessions as well, that previously we saw vertically integrated models. And that now is moving to a more B2B2X, the more integrated omni-channel experience that we're looking at. Now, I said we'll talk about the 4 pillars, right? So what are the 4 pillars? So we did some survey with many of our customers, like 25 plus customers globally, including ones in Asia Pacific. And we talked to more than 100 plus stakeholders, right? And what we found is that, and when we analyzed the data, we looked at that there are 4 key pillars that are necessary for the telcos to get to the next generation. The first pillar is data exploitation. Okay? The second is cloudification, programmability. The third pillar is automation. And the fourth one is exposure. Okay? So I'll jump to explain what these pillars really are, right? And how do they, so I will talk in the context of what I call as the next-gen network maturity framework. Now let's look at data exploitation. The first piece here is the cross-domain data layer, right? Now you would imagine that to build the cross-domain data layer, you need to define as a telco a data model blueprint. And whether you are an IT architect or a network architect or any cross-domain architect that runs across these pillars, you must refer to the data model. The second aspect of the evolution is the cross-domain insight. You need to build the analytics and the tooling to have these insights into dashboards. And not only that, you need to be able to expose it through APIs, right? For people in the organization to be able to build these capabilities, to be able to extract the data. And then the more mature stage is the application of AI and monetization to these pillars. The second one is cloudification and programmability. Now, we all know, and especially people in the telco business, that cloudification leads to programmability. It's very hard to do programmability with traditional networks. So what are the pillars there for the maturity model? The first one I call is virtualization. Now, most of you know about virtualization. It's been around since 2014, 15. And from all the way from, we're moving from LTE core virtualization to now I see even more complex GPON virtualization happening now. So that is a good sign. The next one is disaggregation and open interfaces. So as you build virtualization, you also need to focus on disaggregation and basically building a more holistic multi-vendor ecosystem. Right? Disaggregation basically means the ability to geographically distribute functions. Okay. And now, once you've done virtualization, you've done the disaggregation, you need to make sure that IT comes along, that the ability to see a CI/CD, the ability to do cloud native, those are very important aspects. And that allows you to combine your network capabilities into a more scalable, things where you can flexibly bundle products, right? And also be able to deploy it in public and private clouds. Now, the third pillar, we spoke a lot about it, automation. Now, automation is heavily dependent on the first two pillars, okay? Without proper data and without proper, the programmability, automation is going to be difficult. You can do it in silos, okay? So what are the three, maturity pillars for automation? The first one is intra-domain basic. Now, we've seen that, happening across a lot in the last few years, in the core domain, in the transport domain, some of it in the RAN domain. And then as you evolve it, the next step that's happening within this is to build the closed-loop automation. That's what I call as the intra-domain intelligent automation. And then the next step is the cross-domain. And this is the hard one. This is the hard one. And this is where the underlying pillars, to make sure that your domains are working properly, the domains have the right level of automation, and you've got the right AI ML tooling, that's how you can build the cross-domain automation. The last pillar is exposure. Okay? The last pillar is exposure. And within exposure, it's again a journey. And I heard it again in the previous panel, that exposure, today telcos have eastbound APIs and westbound APIs, and there is some exposure of southbound APIs to here and there, right? But you need to take a bunch of those APIs today that exist, give it a bit of maturity, make it simple for people to understand, for developers to understand, because telco APIs are inherently complex. So that simplification has to happen, be available on the northbound, and then you take the next step to call what I call as the API monetization. So these are the three things. Now, on top of all these four pillars are nice, but you need to care about the foundations. You need to have cross-domain teams. You need to have data scientists, something that telco don't do that often. Data scientist is very important now. You need to have AI ML as a technology. You need to have microservices and secure APIs. These are some of the foundations. Again, the list is longer than this. I just wanted to touch on the few key points. Now, I'll move to the next segment of my presentation. So I did talk about the four pillars. Now I'm going to talk about in this section how Amdocs, as one of the key vendors in the market, is honored to help some of our customers in this journey of the four pillars. So let's start first with the data exploitation piece. Now, the case study that I'm going to talk about is Vodafone. Now, Amdocs is deployed across 13 Vodafone entities, largely in Europe, 13 markets. These markets have their own dynamics, right? And this is the program we call as a cross-market inventory harmonization program. Within this program, what we're doing is we're building a common business and data layer, right? And not only that, we're also trying to build a common user interface for operations, an API layer, and also data federation. What does it give us, right? What does it give Vodafone? It gives operational simplification for the network planning processes, for the fulfillment processes, and including assistance to the assurance operations, whether it's fault management, performance management, and leading into what I call zero-touch operations, right, which is the automation that we all want to achieve. Now, so this is basically the inventory dimension of data. Now, inventory is not the only piece, I must admit. So this is a bit siloed. There are other aspects of data that need to be considered. Among them is assurance data. It's very important in the journey of automation. You also need to look at RAN analytics, okay? Also look at BSS data. So all these are critical foundations for what you need to achieve, this what I call as the data exploitation. The next, so I'm going to talk about the next pillar, which is cloudification and programmability. And here I talk about a North American tier 1 vendor. So what we've done, what this telco wants to do is to virtualize and cloudify its 5G network. And also, along the way, its 4G network. So what is Amdocs doing here, right? So what we build, we're the system integrator for the overall program, right? So we're delivering the entire program to this customer. But our focus really is to provide a unified catalog for onboarding of their LTE 5G core functions and the services, okay? And we're doing it in an open fashion. If you see the picture I'm showing you, we're only doing the catalog, the runtime orchestration, the inventories from other vendors. So what I'm trying to say here is that we're opening up an open ecosystem for telcos, not a landlocked environment. Okay? So we've been in this business of virtualization, one of the first vendors in the market to move on NFV and HC adoption in 2015. Yet, I must admit, there have been lessons for us in this program that we've adopted, and we're very, very proud of it, because this is a journey we are taking along with our customers. The third one is the automation pillar. And this is with VodafoneZiggo, who have been a long-standing customer also of Amdocs. And we're very proud of the journey. And we did a joint presentation, in fact, in Copenhagen last month, where we spoke jointly about what we've achieved from a NAS perspective. And so if you talk about the telco evolution, I spoke about the need for both cross-domain, and intra-domain automation. And this is the architecture we've enabled in VodafoneZiggo. What we've done is we've built this abstraction between IT capabilities and network capabilities that allow them to work independently of each other. So network can build all these domains you see at the bottom, the 5 domains. They can build all the capabilities. They can build all the automation, right? And independently, and so can IT. And they talk to each other through an agreed contract via the NAS layer. So this is the journey we've enabled for VodafoneZiggo. Now, this is only the systems part, okay? As we were going along the journey, you also need to look at the people part, okay? Network engineering are a little bit skeptical about automation. And they feel they lose control, right? And then there is a bit of education that needs to go on as you drive into this journey of automating network operations, being able to, to go on this journey. The people aspect is very, very important. My last pillar, where we're working together, is exposure. And this is not a custom. We've, a Catalyst reference. We did a Catalyst called Shine, a simple hyperscaler integrated networks experience. And in the Catalyst, what we did, the purpose of the Catalyst is to see what kind of market models are viable. And here we were working with 3 of our key customers, AT&T, Orange, and Telefonica. And what we did is we onboarded some of their network functions, right? The network capabilities, I wouldn't call it functions, network capabilities into the Azure marketplace. And this is the work we did, Amdocs didn't do it alone, along with some of its partners. And this capability was exposed to application developers and enterprises. Now, Amdocs enabled this journey along with its partners of onboarding these functions and exposing them to the APIs, right? What were the use cases that we took on here? Real-time video calling, okay? And also gaming. Now, I heard some of our previous panelists talk about gaming being as a use case, that is being done in Indonesia in Telkomsel. So it's the same type of, industry use cases we are looking at. What is more interesting is this slide here, a simple chart that shows you what kind of APIs were being done in the Catalyst. And you see there are two distinct types across 3 telcos. While AT&T was doing the QoD, the Quality on Demand API, right? Telefonica and Orange were offering a Quality on Demand API and also a Location API. And this was being exposed to the customers. Now, I'm not saying, well, the jury is still out there on what is the right approach to take for this kind of model, right? We've spoken to some of customers, and they're a bit skeptical about exposure. Okay, they think there might be a cannibalization of telco's business and competition, right? There is a fear there, a viable fear that we understand. And so we understand that the industry will take different directions, depending on the market, depending on your region, specific regions. There will be different directions. Not everybody will take this direction. Okay. So I spoke about the 4 pillars. I also spoke about how we are helping our customers and also participating in various industry events to kind of not only to contribute, but also learn from these events. And so I'm trying to summarize this. So in terms of what really is Amdocs trying to do, right? Our key mission right now is to help our customers on the journey of network transformation and connect it to ID, right? And what does this really mean? And we're seeing this work in the market, by the way. We're seeing this work in the market as a viable way to take the baby steps into full-scale automation, to enable the layer of NAS, to help to build the domain orchestration capabilities and the inventory and the analytics, and to connect it to the IT layer. And the IT layer has its own challenges. We heard the previous panelists say that our customers on B2B want a different experience. And now, the broadening industry term for that is type B experience. Right, so our B2B customers want a type B experience. They don't want to be connected to a fixed catalog that telcos traditionally offer for B2B services. Right? So that's another journey. So there are different dimensions to what we're trying to achieve. And this is my last slide. A few years ago, this would have been my first slide. And given, so why is it the last, right? Because there's a lot of reality check. 5G brought with it a lot of promises. Some of it are there. Some of it is still work in progress. Now, as telcos, and we really want to implement these use cases. And some of them are already there. The platforms are there. They're working. The sensors are there. All of them there. But the operational automation of all this is still a work in progress. Right? It will take time. And as I saw Andrew talk about in the beginning, that there is a 2-year, 3-year horizon. I do think that's a good time scale to achieve this level of automation if the right pillars were followed. So as Amdocs, we are very proud and humbled to be in this journey to enable this wave of automation and to help our customers achieve the goal to be next-gen telco operators. Thank you very much for your time. And we have a stall here, a booth here that feel free if you have any follow-up questions, do let us know. Thank you very much.